And ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution adopting the agenda with the following amendments. Under reports of municipal officers is the email from the Thunder Bay Speedway attaching revising their event schedule. And for information only, there's a TBD ML draft agenda for February 29th to March 1st conference. Any other changes? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution approving the minutes of the public meeting held on December the 12th. Were there any errors or omissions? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Is there any discussion on any of those items in the minutes? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. This question would be, I think, for the planning department. On page 17, Mr. Pollock had submitted a letter. I'm just wondering if you had an opportunity to review his question and compare it to the information that had been provided by the applicant.
I would have to look at, and I'm not sure off the top of my head.
All righty. We have the minutes, resolution approving the minutes of the council meeting held on December the 12th for approval. Were there any errors or omissions? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Was there any items that you wish to discuss on those minutes? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. With regard to the emergency management site, was the generator here installed and ready to go for the 20th of December as previously noted by the director?
Yeah, unfortunately, it did not happen over the Christmas break, and we're working on a further schedule in the very near future.
Any other items for discussion? And then we have a resolution moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the council meeting where we discussed the 2024 operating and capital budget on December the 14th. Were there any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Was there any items for discussion on those meetings? As none. Okay, next item we have is the bylaw enforcement officer, and Larry is here, and he has his report on page 44. So if there are anything you would like to bring forward to our attention other than what's on the report here?
The dog at large on John Street Road, I received a letter from one of the complainants stating that the dog hasn't been on her property for quite a while now, and it's just sent an email saying thanks for the help. The one on Blind Line Road, the letter was given directly to the dog owner, and he stated that his father had let the dog out without the shock collar on, and the dog ran out onto the road while the person was walking, and nothing since. So
Okay. Were there any questions of the bylaw enforcement officer, Councillor Viss?
Yes, just for clarification, Larry, on those dogs, like, do you have a procedure, like how many times, like you visit and then a warrant, or like how, finally, when you get to the point, you say that's enough, and you fine them?
I call it the 3-strike method. The first complaint, I give you a verbal warning and a little caution ticket. The second complaint, I give a formal Oliver Papoon's warning letter. And the third complaint is $125 fine.
Good.
Every time I go to a dog complaint, I tell the dog owner, that's the procedure I take.
Sure.
And if I'm coming to give you $125 fine, you're not listening.
Good, thank you. Just for clarification.
Okay, any other questions? Was there anything further, Larry?
Nope, glad to be back after hiatus with my hip, and yeah, everything's good.
So
So
good, perfect. Okay. The next item we have is the planning 2023 year-end report. We have it on page 45 and 46. So Harry, if there's anything that you'd like to bring forth other than what's on the report here?
I don't think so. I know we're anticipating a busy year. We've had a lot of rumblings about some new developments, so We should continue on a nice roll like we have been.
Is there any questions about the planning report? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just as far as the other development with regard to the calendar, if the fire department had 13 of the 30 ads that were in the calendar, whose budget do those come from?
It's all out of the economic development budget.
It all comes with the,
Mhm.
okay, that's absorbed through them.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Then we have our building department, for January to December. We have a revised last sheet on our desk or because of it kind of got cut off, the program cut it off. And so it's on your table. We've hit 22, almost $22.5 million cost of construction for the year in total. Any questions? Of the planner? Yes, or of, yeah, well, the building report is the building inspector. Yes.
I was just wondering, application number 8123. It appears to be more than a residential garage. So.
It's
I
the
don't-
residential garage that we approved zoning on
Mhm.
earlier last year that has the residence in the loft.
Oh, it does have a residence in the loft. I was my understanding it was just a garage.
It's a.
Now it is. Now,
It is just a,
Yeah, you're allowed to have a residence in the top of a garage as a,
well, it's not, I don't believe it has a residence in it.
has it got a residence?
No, this is just the taller one.
Oh,
It's-
that's
It's
the
a very
taller one.
large garage.
Oh, yeah.
just because
okay.
it has two dormers up the top, it looked like it was a residence as well. So,
Yeah, they
just
are
wondering.
allowed to do that, but I don't think it has that.
Okay.
Anything else? No? Okay. Good year for looking forward to another busy year. Building department, oh, we've had a single source procurement. We have a resolution that we recommend the use of single source sourcing with vendors listed on the report. So it's page 59. The report is there. Is there any questions of the Director of Operations in regards to this report? Councillor Viss?
Just for clarification, we do this every year and there's nobody else, like, do we need to do this every year? Because where are you gonna get it from? I mean, you have no choice.
Yeah, through the chair, it's regurgitated every year just because of the bylaw.
Okay, that clears that up. Okay, right, thank you.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. And when expenses come to each of these, whether it be salt, spray, inject, patching, are they put to the project at the time? They hadn't been in the past and they've kind of been lumped together just in that one spot, and a journal entry was supposed to happen at the end of the year to go to each project. Do you know if that's been completed?
We are still, through the chair, we have traditionally done that in the past. 2023 did not allow us to do that for
Good.
various reasons.
Mhm.
We are working on it through John to get 2022 final, 2023 final, and have our GL numbers set up for 2024 prior to construction season. To go back to where we were in 22.
Okay. Is there any questions or concerns on regarding the report? So we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor, opposed, carried. The next item is a vehicle purchase for Public Works 2024 capital budget. The resolution has been moved and seconded that we recommend the authorization to expend up to $75,000 to replace Unit 26. We have a report on page 1661. Are there any questions of the Director of Operations? Oh, Council.
Sorry, through the chair, if I may. This was brought up verbally at our budget meeting that we had just had a catastrophic failure and I was working on some solutions. We tried to source, as the report says, a used transmission, next to impossible to get. It's an international truck with a Hino engine with a Ford transmission. It's Ford transmission. So it's an anomaly. And again, as the report states, it was nearing its end of life and our upset value to date is in that 23,000, what we purchased in 2013. So we've got good value out of the vehicle. It's a frontline vehicle from our perspective where it tows the steamer, as the report says, and that kind of stuff. So we've been looking around, we've been talking to the staff in regards to what we need, not basically what we want, but what we need. And that's the minimum we're looking at. So we're looking at repurposing the existing box that is on the truck, because that's the size of a box we kind of would like. It's fiberglass and aluminum. It's in good shape. So we're strictly looking for a chassis of some sort to, and we will do those repairs in-house ourselves when we find the vehicle, if you guys bless it.
Okay. So is there any Councillor Viss?
Yeah, just, and for clarification, and maybe it means nothing much, but it says that we recommend authorization of the minister to expend 75,000 for a truck. I understand that that's what we need. Then it says that we put it in the work capital budget, like why, if we approve this, it's a done deal, just buy a truck. I mean, isn't that what we need to do today? We need a truck.
We haven't approved this year's budget yet.
No, I understand that, but I mean, we need the truck and it says the international ton truck be approved. So once we say yes to this, go buy your truck. I mean, he needs the truck. So why do we do the two? Or am I all screwed up here?
I guess no, not screwed up, a valid question. I guess what we're trying to do is to show the transparency through the asset management plan where that was coming due anyways. So it's kind of proof in the pudding, and we're trying to shape our purchases based on that plan. Like everything's got a lifespan, and this thing reached its end of life, unfortunately, about 6 months too early. And we've decided to go this route. We've done this in the past, Councillor Viss, where we've come on an emergency basis, and you've absolutely said it's outside the past budget. It's after the approved budget. We have a problem, we go do it. This one, because of the timing, and I think because of what we've been talking about, it kind of makes sense, which is why I drew the report as long as I did in regards to referencing that it was coming due anyways, based on our strategy. And because the budget has been blessed, it's very easy to put in to have it as a line entry, and it gets involved into the levy.
Just to come, the reason I'm saying that, if you look at our financial statement stuff, we have a surplus from last year. So why don't we just take the 75 out of the surplus and you got your truck and we don't need to put it in the budget and you're done. Get your truck.
Well, it still has to go in the budget. It just, paper wise, it has to show that.
I think, I agree.
My point is, you see, our budget is, you know where it is. You know where I'm driving at. Our budget's way up here. And I'm just saying,
Truck in 2023, we could have put it,
Yeah.
provided in 2020.
I backdate and pay the thing. Okay, go ahead. Do how you have to do it. I just said, the budget is where it is and we're adding some more to it and we got to struggle with it as it is. So take it out of the surplus last year and you got your truck and we're out of here.
But through the chair, to the point I made about the asset management, so this was gonna show up in 25 anyways, so now that 75 is out of 25.
Out of 25,
We're
right.
pulling it back, right? So then they'll defer it another year, 10 years out, or whatever life expectancy is.
Of this vehicle, yes.
So we're just moving it, and it's because of the timing, to be quite honest with you, it's because of the timing, because the budget's being talked about, and this is a way to get it in,
Mhm.
so. But through the chair, with all due respect, we have to start looking for these things now, because they're hard to find.
Yes. Yeah. Any further questions? Okay, so we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The asset management plan, we have the 50-year outlook, page 62 to 64. Something to boggle your mind. So, there is no resolution. It's just for your information, so it's open for discussion if there's any questions. Councillor Viss?
Well, I don't have any questions. I have a real problem, and as you're all aware of with the asset management plan, the whole thing. It wasn't long ago when we looked at the backlog of just a little over 1 million. We're back just into January of this year, and we now have a backlog over $4 million. Well, at the rate, if that keeps going, well, we're gonna be broke in a few years and we're gonna be out of here. So what frustrates me, I guess, it's very simple to take everything we have and you put a percentage to it and you put depreciation on it, and these are the numbers you come up with. I'm not denying the numbers are not correct. But we've ran and operated for so many years without all these documents thrown at us and say we're $4 million behind. We never had that before. And when I look at this, I should take concern about that because that's not right. There's something's not adding up. And I think that's wrong. So besides that, then, you see, if you sit, maybe if we go to do that $4 million, and I look at my budget for the next year, that means we would, to just cover the backlog, we'd have to increase the taxes by 49%. And now because our total budget is only $9 million we collect from the people. So you got to have $4 million. So you're 50%. That's the only way to get it. So then if that's the case, then I'll throw something into there, then maybe all employees should be a resident of Oliver Punj. So when the taxes go up 50%, they also pay the 50% like you and I do. Just a thought.
I don't
If
understand
that doesn't work, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, I just don't, what does it matter if people live here or don't? You
Well,
know?
because then the people would be paying out of their pocket if they live here. If they own property in our, then they pay taxes. Right now, they don't pay taxes if you don't live in the Oliver Point.
No,
So you
that's
can
right.
come up with all these numbers anytime you want.
Well, these are scientifically or mathematically produced. They're not produced because somebody doesn't live in the township.
So you, okay,
This is a report that's done by, you know, this is like a forecast. For example, we were, I believe it was 9 million behind. Were we not previously? But I mean, that doesn't mean that we have to jump up and spend $9 million.
well, then why do we have the report showing this?
Well, that's because that's the truth.
So what are you gonna do about the $4 million in backlog?
Well, as we go through doing the budgets, that stuff will slowly be absorbed into our future budgets.
Do what you like.
Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I don't think that this is perhaps a true figure as to what's outstanding, because nothing is, from what I can read from this, it doesn't indicate where our reserves are, how they're going to be affected in any of this, any grants,
No,
anything.
that
So
doesn't get involved, and this is just talking about your assets. A bridge is an asset, the road is an asset, a
Okay.
building's an asset, a vehicle's an asset. If you do bookkeeping, assets are never showing grants or what you have in your savings account. These are just the assets,
Yeah.
and they're saying a certain asset has perhaps a life of 10 years, and since it was bought in this year, it's probably going to have to be replaced in that year. It may not, or it may have to be replaced earlier, but this is a guideline to give us an idea of what the future looks for the municipality when it comes to our assets.
and with the sanitary sewer network on there, we don't have that yet. So is it premature to have it in the event cost now and then look at it again in 43?
No, it isn't, because we've got to look forward. It could very well be ours next year already. These are all mathematical numbers. They're not made up by anyone. They look at your truck and say, my car is a 2016 and it's now 2023. So how many years have I got left in my car? I mean, it's something everyone does in their home too, normally.
Seeing as these are 2024 costs, it could be right off the map by the time the end of this 50-year
Well,
program is.
these are, as it states, these
Mhm.
are at 2024 values of
Yes.
$1.
Mhm.
Now, you know, that's going to change as life goes on because
Absolutely.
$1 becomes worth less, or if things should really be changed, worth more.
Mhm.
I doubt it, but it'll be a lot different in 5 or 10 years, certainly, even in 2 years. But it's just a guideline for us to see what the future is for our municipality.
There's nothing cut in stone to say that this is it.
And let's face it, every municipality's in this. If you look at everyone has a backlog of stuff, because no one's perfect. No one has everything right up to date, up to snuff. So this backlog stuff is kind of a misnomer or whatever you want to call it. It's not really an actual thing. Everyone's like that because not everyone has everything brand new. So stuff is going to be owed the money or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
It's just a,
And this has been like
Figure.
3 or 4 years to produce.
Yeah.
So, you know, if municipalities didn't know, as council being that many years, we didn't look at this. We didn't even think of it. We just got a budget and we, you know, someone said the roof is leaking, we fix it. Now this report is saying that roof is so old, you're probably gonna have to replace the shingles in year X. So now we can plan ahead and say, we'll be ready to have the money to replace the shingles in year X so that we don't have the leaking and we don't have the ceiling destroyed. It's just a plan. It's just
Mhm.
look forward. That's what it is. Counselor Viss?
I don't have a problem with looking forward. I'm just saying there's $4 million in backlog. That's behind, that's done. That's what we owe to get even where we should be. I don't have a problem looking for the next 10 years. No problem at all. But I do have a problem with the backlog. How are you gonna deal with that? How are you gonna deal with the $4 million backlog?
Well, last year we were 9 million backlog.
Huh? How are you gonna deal with it?
Well, we
Because
have,
somebody changes numbers.
We're
That's
having-
how the numbers. So, how do you get to those numbers? From 9 to 4, tell me where you saved $5 million last year.
Through the chair, this is up to date. Last year you had $3.7 million in backlog in the Roslyn Village Water Treatment System. We got a grant for $1.1 million and we wiped off the backlog.
there you go.
1.7. So where's the other 4 million?
We had booked 3.7 value in the asset management plan as a historical cost with replacement that was calculated from 1970. The replacement costs we had booked in our asset management plan, which was very rudimentary at best for the last 5 years, was $3.7 million value, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
We did the job for 1.1 million and rejuvenated our asset and moved it out of backlog and moved it out 40 years.
So,
The numbers will be proved at time at bidding. It's the same thing. We're looking at $180,000 in backlog for a sidewalk. That shows as backlog for the sidewalks in Kekabeka.
Mm.
We're not doing it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the sidewalks. It was a number that was created previously. This is a living, breathing document and it will change year to year. And as things get purchased and
Mm.
built and rejuvenated, the cost gets updated. We're dealing with old data and to the point that we're getting rid of backlog without doing anything. We're not ignoring it. We're updating our costs and we're looking at different strategies for different things. You want to get rid of $180,000 in sidewalk? Don't need to do it. Change the timeline, move it out 40 years.
and it's the same with the getting grants as we got for the arena and for the community centers and the outdoor rinks, what have you, baseball fields, that all takes away from the backlog.
So through the chair, if I may, the backlog that's presented in fire and emergency services of $883,000 is fire trucks that we decided to purchase. They aren't purchased yet. It was a decision of council to do it. We put the cost in, we haven't purchased it yet. The minute we purchase it, the 883 comes off the backlog.
Mhm.
That's how this works.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay, all righty, so.
Just, I mean, it's just, I guess, the terminology perhaps could be, a little more clear. And I understand where Councillor Viss is coming from, but I mean, it's, yeah. Backlog perhaps isn't the best way to describe it. Maybe that's, but, and it's, yeah, something like that, because it's, and I mean, if this was a perfect document, that backlog should almost be zero, right? If it was perfectly accurate for every asset that we have, which of course it's never going to be. And I mean, as our staff does the great job that they do finding extra savings and stuff, we're going to be able to, you know, I mean, we're more efficient than this document implies that we are. So.
Sorry, through the chair, if I may, another fine example is we had a $943,000 backlog in recreation and cultural services. $210,000 as a Zamboni that we bought today.
Mhm.
210,000 comes off that
Comes off,
backlog.
and that was a grant.
Moved
money.
it out and that was grant money.
Yeah.
This is how this forward column works. You clear the backlog when you can, you readjust your costs when you can, when you get things rejuvenated. The
Okay.
backlog will slowly disappear, which is why we've been working on the backlog. But at the same time, the looking forward component is what we're trying to show here. Everything has a life. So for 2023 to 2027, there's 4 years, 4 calendar years. We require 10.64 divided by 4.
Yeah.
Okay, the following year, 2028 to 2032, we have a $10 million Hearthstone Bridge in there.
Right.
So it bumped it up.
That's why it's now 25.
That's
almost
why it's
$26
25.
million over 4 years.
The next 4-year term, we're back down to 2.7, 2.9 million. We're currently spending somewhere between 3.7 and 3.9 a year.
Every year.
Every year. We've done that since I've been here.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's a good way to explain to Chris as we're moving forward like this, we are spending that money, so this stuff is actually moving ahead. I think that's,
Well, it's being
way of- a way
eliminated
of-
and said we'll have to we'll have to replace it in 10 or 15 or 50 years. So
In the
figure-
transportation network. So here's another example. In the transportation network, I believe in hot mix paving, we're looking at a $1.5 million deficit. Backlog, because we canceled Kekabeka when it came up. We deferred it, so it
Mhm.
stays in backlog.
That's right.
We're gonna hopefully do it this year.
So
1.5 comes off your backlog
End of the
and
year.
it gets a new life cycle at the new cost stretched forward
mhm.
for the strategies that we've adopted around the table that we presented to you. We haven't adopted on every strategy for every asset. We think we've done a good job. We're following models of other municipalities. But the fact is exactly correct. The first rendition of the asset management plan in 2013 is not where we are today.
Mhm.
And I think if we went back to that document, I haven't looked at it in quite some time, it was probably $40 million backlog. We're getting to 9, right? Now we're getting to 4. And if we keep doing the program when they need to be done, and we keep getting grants, let's say, or ways to make more funds available to do the work, or the jobs come in lower than expected, we get rid of the backlog.
Okay. All right, Ms. Wayne.
I have one comment, in terms of where our municipality sits with our asset management plan and how we're funding it. We're doing very well compared to other municipalities. There's been information brought forward to council on that point. This year we have, I think, a $7.5 million capital expenditure. Our average per these figures is 4.6. So we're meeting, we're dealing with a backlog, and you see that cost schedule there on 64. What this is really, the main idea behind looking at this is there's high points and low points, and you got to try to budget for those things. But for us to be in a position where we're basically funding our asset management plan, we got to be very pleased with ourselves on how things are looking. Many municipalities are not even close to that. They don't even know what their 50-year horizon is. So we need to be happy with where we are and keep planning properly.
Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. I think we looked before at the Lake Conservation Authority budget, and it may be beneficial. It's on page 155, but it just shows.
Excuse me, the mic on.
I'm sorry.
Much.
Oh, button's on now. Okay. The Lake Conservation Authority budget that's on page 155, it does show where the funding is coming from to cover these costs or their costs in their budget. So perhaps a line item like that with the would help to alleviate some of the scare basically that's in the listing that's
Well, Yeah,
that
we
shows-
do that in our budgets.
the budget.
We
Yes,
don't do this on the forecast because we don't know 10 years from now where the
No.
money's coming from. So
but
we
this,
just, but we
this
do it
year,
in our budget when things are going to be applied for by grant or whatever.
And by July 1, 2025, that's the deadline, I believe. There's supposed to be a financing strategy for your asset management plan. I think it's supposed to be a 10-year plan. So that's something that you're supposed to have done for July of 2025. A 50-year financing plan, that's it could be done, of course, but of course, there's a lot of assumption in it and things change all the time, just like as we see with these costs. Remember last year, one of the big developments that changed up our backlog was the change in the road policy. We said instead of doing work at this level, we reduced it a bit because we thought it's okay to drive on a few bumps on some of the side roads. And that took a lot of stuff out of the backlog and pushed a lot of cost into the future because we're not going to be working on the roads as quickly.
Okay. All righty. Then we have the procurement bylaw and canoe purchasing group. We have a resolution that was moved and seconded to recommend the authorization of the administration to utilize the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada for any purchasing or some of the purchasing that we do. If you could just explain a little bit what that is, Wayne, or unless everybody has read it and understands it. Any questions, Councillor Viss?
Yes, I do. Is there a percentage they charge on what we purchase? If it, like I noticed you said tires, will that be what, 1-2%? They gotta, somebody's gotta be making some money on this here or to even operate, right?
So through the chair, Canoe is somewhat different. I think Wayne might be able to touch on a little bit more, but my brief numbers that I've looked at is that it's the difference between one person buying one Zamboni or the group offering to purchase 200 Zambonis.
Right.
And Canoe makes a small margin, but in my opinion, the base point of buying 200 far outweighs the commission. On what
They
they're
haven't
making.
laid out to you.
They haven't laid that out yet. Now, I do know, maybe John can speak to it. I do know that the Lakehead Purchasing Consortium, which is the hospitals, the universities, and some of the school boards, are all involved with Canoe. They buy their sheets, they buy their paper towels, they buy their garbage bags, they buy all that stuff off of Canoe. I do know that. And what we're seeing now is on Canoe has expanded over the last 10 years. And this isn't a new by any stretch. That's been around forever. The previous treasurer and myself got into many debate over whether we should be in or not. And we've had good luck when you see the sole procurement bylaw. They offer, they don't offer it yet, but I can see the purchase of raw commodity, salt,
Mhm.
coming to Canoe at one point in time. That I can see it happening.
Mhm.
Will it double surface treating go to Canoe? Probably not, because of geographically where it is and the labor involved. So I haven't really defined, but on a one-off basis, the price that I saw today on the Zamboni, it's far better than what I expected going through Canoe than going to our private sector.
That's good. Councillor Campoff?
So if we are signed up with Canoe, are we bound to purchase things through that consortium, or are we allowed to still go on our own?
Through the chair, we are still allowed to go on our own. Basically, what we would do is we would design or tender what we're after, write something down. It's a lot like going to, and I'm going to use the term loosely, it's like a lot going to like No Name. If you want bells and whistles, this isn't the place you go shopping. If you want a functioning pickup truck with an AM/FM radio, you go here. If you want 18-inch chrome tires and running boards, you don't go here.
Would this kind of work, and I know Sean's not here, but would this kind of work for fire trucks, perhaps, pumpers?
Fire trucks, Zambonis, plow trucks, graders. If you have a general spec that everybody else is buying, this is where you would go.
Okay. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm just wondering how this then gets advertised. I know if there's a job posting here, it goes on Indeed and it goes on our website. So how are the vendors that we currently use going to know that these things are going to be advertised on Canoe?
So through the chair, it's a standalone procurement policy or process where Canoe would go out to the open market knowing that 20 municipalities are buying a set fire truck. And they would go there and say, this is what we want. We want a 2,000-gallon tank. We want tandem. We want to be 27 feet long with red lights. And they would go to the supplier, every supplier, give us your best price because we're going to buy 20. So this actually does the procurement for us on those bigger items. I'm not saying, and that's the way the report's written. And I guess I'm kind of speaking out of turn a little bit, but we're not here to buy garbage bags and toilet paper. This is not what this option is for. This option is to get a base price, competitive price on our big ticket items. And to Councillor Campoff's point, you can say no.
Mhm.
You are not bound.
So if you do want to have 2 red lights, you can go on
But
your own. and
what
get
you
2 red
cannot
lights.
do is go take your base price, say to the canoe organization, okay, thanks for the price, we're out. Take that price and go to the dealer that bid on it.
No,
That's not allowed.
no.
You sign into this program, the procurement's being done on your fire truck X
Yeah.
or plow truck X with this spec, and it goes to the open market and they get the best price for you.
There are many programs like that on the opposite side with someone who builds fire trucks. He or she will go and be a member of Canoe so that when fire trucks are an item that they're looking for, they automatically get notification. Because I've been on the other end, not with equipment, but with bushwork and so on. Then you automatically get a little tick saying, there's a job for you, quote on it. And so they know who the suppliers are.
Just as a, just as a quick example, in my previous career, what we had the buying power through national accounts. And we had national pricing on our credit card. Whether it was a gas station, whether it was Michelin tires, this is the same sort of idea.
Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just also, I note here that it says that Canoe will do the RFPs for things. So does that alleviate some of the workload that our asset management personnel has? Do they not do does he not do the RFPs?
Yes, he does, but someone still has to tell them what we want, and someone still has to be that dialogue with this group.
And without having sufficient places for us to store things, and every hall has a different dispenser, whether it be toilet tissue or paper towel or whatever, garbage cans, sizes, there is no sense in us doing that
As the
type of purchasing through Canoe because it's all over the map.
Yeah, as the report says, it's for specific things through procurement.
Mhm.
These are your bigger ticket items where every municipality is buying one this year.
Yeah.
This is not for 3 garbage cans this size and 6 garbage cans that size, and then go back next week and buy 4 different ones. Again, I'll use the term generic, cookie cutter sort of things.
But we're looking at big equipment, big
Absolutely.
vehicles, that kind of thing.
Culvert pipes,
Yes.
some of our culvert suppliers are global suppliers.
Mhm.
If they go to Canoe and say, hey, we want to get our products on your website to sell to every municipality in Canada, they'll do it.
Canoe is an Amazon. Exactly the same thing. Only they don't deal in half tons and graders and what have you.
And is this program something that other municipalities in our area are using or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay is,
Yep.
okay. I just wondered through the service board, if the other municipalities that we deal with, that you have your,
LRMC?
yes, thank you. Mhm,
Well, I'm sure that they have the option if they wish to
mhm.
go
Yeah.
to join it.
At the other meetings, I've talked to guys from Terrace Bay and all that, they all use it too. A lot of them are using it, so, and they're really liking it, I'll tell you, that's
Mhm.
very they praise it.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a resolution setting a special date for our final, perhaps final budget meeting of 2024, draft number 3 for January the 18th at 9 a.m. Is there any discussion or problem with that date with any member of council? No.
Thank you for 9:00.
I was just upset when I saw 9 o'clock. That's such a late time in the morning. It should be 8. Yeah, I had 8 written too. I had to change it to 9 when I got the agenda. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a resolution moved and seconded to supply financial support to St. James Anglican Church for their cemetery maintenance. We have done this historically for many years. They are asking for $500. Is there any, this resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Yes.
I know that further along, there is a report from another municipality with regard to cemeteries, but what happens to St. James Cemetery should the church no longer be responsible for the cemetery?
It's ours.
Okay,
That's why we say $500 is a small amount to pay for them to be maintaining the cemetery. So it cost us a lot more to do that.
exactly. So do we have a contact person who looks after their records and things, or is it just?
We don't record who goes in there, they
No.
do that. This is just to maintain the grounds. This is just to maintain the
Right.
cemetery.
So we don't know if they're meeting the requirements of the bereavement people. That's totally up to them.
That's between them and, that's their cemetery, up to the point that once they no longer can maintain it or own it, or the church disappears, it becomes ours. We have to then maintain it and take over the records.
Mhm.
Mr. Campo?
Which to the best of our knowledge, we're not implying that's the case or coming down the pipe.
No. Oh, no,
So
this has
make
been
that clear.
something that has been going on
Not
for
happening.
years and years and years. Yeah. It's just at one point, the council, at that point in time, felt they should pay something to help them pay for cutting the grass and whatever they do. Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have revisions bylaw 81/2023, which is council pay municipal travel expenses, and that's due to it being a new year. The resolution has been moved and seconded. It's page 69 to 74. Any questions? None? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have the 2024 racetrack schedule, and we've also received an email with some revision to that event schedule. It is just a report for information. Is there any thoughts? I believe they mentioned that they caught in our email that this also went to the church. Yes.
Are the Thursday races limited to a time so that they don't interfere with any school being still open in June? And
Well, Wednesday nights would be the same thing, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the administration was working on an agreement they are going to work on with them in regards to the time frame.
And do we have anything further with regard to item I on the bylaw? And that's with regard to the exhaust mufflers and the decibel reader and anything like that? Is anyone going to be monitoring anything as far as times the events are run or noise levels?
We're still looking at that, how we will enforce the bylaw this year. Yeah, that's correct.
For closing times, etc. Councillor Bliss?
Yes, back to Council Peacock, Thursday is the same time allowed as Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday only for the rain out. I looked through the schedule, looks like appears they're right within all the bylaw that we have, bylaw 37/2023, they abide by that whole thing, so I think we're good to go.
Okay.
I do need to point out that it's not exactly what you see in bylaw 37/2023. There's three-day events. And there's only two-day events rather than 4 2-day events. So it's a little bit outside of the bylaw, but if the modifications are not, really troublesome, then
Yeah.
we're okay to go, but it's not word for word what it says in the bylaw.
Councillor Bliss?
But Wayne, though, if you look under E, on 4 occasions from any year between the hours of 12 and 11 PM on Friday and between 12 noon and 11 PM on Saturday, on 4 occasions, that's when I picked that up. I said, well, if it says 4 occasions, then they're good to go, right? Well, I know that we used to talk about 2 weekends, but now it says you're on 4 occasions.
Right.
So then when I went through that, I said, well, they're clear, they're good to go. On number E.
The 4 occasions that they talk about there, say there's only Friday and Saturday racing. They've got 3 that have some Sunday racing. There's that Thursday, Friday, Saturday one, and then they have another one where, so that's and then in the summer they have a 3-day race. So it's not quite the same. What the bylaw says is you're supposed to have a 3-day race with the Sunday in June and one in September. So they've got 3.
Yeah. they
But-
have 3.
you know, they're only having two-day events,
That's right.
so.
And
Instead of
many
four.
since they've gone back, so, okay. Counselor Peacock?
Thank you. Just one other question. Do we ever have an issue with them with the lease of the grounds that we allow them to use and any kind of garbage or anything left behind or anything?
No, they have everything clean.
Through the chair, no.
Everything is clean there.
Okay.
Okay. So now we have, the next item is a transfer of Sabine Drive Road allowance to the municipality, page 79 to 85. The resolution has been moved and seconded. So it's open for discussion or question. Yes, Councilor Peacock?
Thank you. When this application came to us the first time, I asked at that time, was there sufficient frontage on both the severed and retained? So was there?
Yes, that's why it was approved.
Yes.
Okay, because this looks like the road frontage is just on the severed portion, but what about the retained then?
They've never had to do a survey on the retained portion.
So we don't know if there's sufficient
It was
frontage.
measured out by the applicants. There's more than enough road frontage, and the surveyors would have noted it if there wasn't.
Okay, because I just see down the bottom here, it says original road allowance not traveled, so. Okay,
I just want to ask a bit about that, because I discussed this with the Director of Operations a bit. When I look at this Google map, which really didn't turn out that well, it's too dark on page 80. If I understand, we snow plow past the driveway that you see on the left side of the page, right? Because that's where the home is now.
Mhm.
So we go there. And the legend, I should say the scale, it's not really viewable very easily, but there's more than 120 meters there
Yes.
from that driveway to. And then again, when you look at the block map on 81, you got to kind of eye them up because it does have a scale on it. The scale didn't come through on the Google map, but you can just see the 120 meters on the scale there, and then just move it down with your fingers. I mean, there's 120 meters, and we take the plow past the existing driveway of the home there that you see on the Google map.
Okay, so this is to transfer.
It may not be something that's registered in our name, but it's a traveled road. We plow it. We own it. It's our road there, and we do maintain it.
So what we're now doing in this resolution is to have the road allowance transferred to us, the road,
That's correct, yeah.
because it's not in our name at this time. So any further questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. We have reports of committees, the Lakewood Conservation Authority. We have the minutes, the DSAD minutes, and the Thunder Bay District Health Unit minutes. And we have the bylaws. I'm sorry, Councillor Peacock.
no problem. Just so the planning department knows that there are going to be some increase in user fees that the Lakehead or that the Thunder Bay District Health Unit will have in place this year. So
They will
development
not-
charges, things like that, I'm sure that they'll be
They
advised.
notify our office directly, yes.
Okay.
Yes. All righty, so we have following bylaws. They've been moved and seconded. The revision bylaw 81/2023 for council pay and municipal travel expenses. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have the borrowing bylaw, which is a housekeeping bylaw. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the interim tax levy and late payment charges. This is also housekeeping bylaw we pass every year. It's open for discussion. It's been moved and seconded. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just hoping that the website will be updated to indicate when the interim billing is due, because I think 2022 dates are on our current website, nothing for 2023.
I'll make a note, that's
Appreciate that. Thank you.
or 2024?
That too. Yep.
23 is over. If you didn't make them, you're late already. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the bylaw moved and seconded in regards to the transfer of the road allowance on Sedin Drive. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a list of action items that we've received in the past. Now we have some new action items. The first one is a cemetery transfer and abandonment administration and management support. I'm not sure if anybody has read it, what your thoughts are on that in regards to administration. I thought it was a good one to support, but yes, Councillor Peacock.
And perhaps Councillor Campoff can comment on this with regard to abandoned cemeteries. I don't know what happens to that little one abutting you. No comment.
My problem.
Yes, it's not your property. That's right.
As long as they stay on their side of the fence, you're happy?
Wasn't sure if the church that it belonged to had ever been contacted, or you just ignore that.
We went there years ago and
Mhm.
like 30-some years ago. No, my mom, not from maybe even now.
We had some issues with it at one time, like, yeah, went away.
So this resolution or this resolution we received from Clearview Township has some points here that they have passed in the resolution in regards to asking the government for annual funding to assist with the maintenance of inactive and active cemeteries, etc. Does the administration think this is something good to support? Yes, I thought so too. So could we have that come back to us at our next meeting, please? And then we have an amendment to the Occupational Health and Safety Act. I think we've discussed this previously, and I would encourage you very strongly to support this. And I think you've already put the resolution in. It's been moved and seconded. So we'll open it for discussion, and if there is none, we will, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. This is something every contractor, every business should, no, everyone that is involved with the
Right.
Occupational Health and Safety Act for sure. Business support for CEVA loan businesses asking to extend the deadline. I don't know that that is something that we have to work at. It's been a few years already. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about anyone. Has anyone else heard any rumblings on this one? Like I haven't. So.
No, the deadline is the 18th of January now. It was December 31st, and so far I have not heard that they are even thinking about changing that, so.
No.
We'll wait until the 17th to find out. I'm sure there's a few people waiting to pay it till then. Then we have the advocacy for short-term rentals, page 139 to 140. So, yes, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. I think this is something that we should consider including with our official plan and zoning review to ensure that people are compliant. I know for sure if you look on Airbnb, there are at least 3 listed in Oliver Papoonge that you could rent out, available on like I say, on the Airbnb website. So is it up to us to control what happens in those places as far as registering them to ensure they're compliant? Or is it the owners? Or if the city has a concern that there's some regulatory framework, perhaps we should as well.
Councillor Biss, you had your hand up?
No,
Oh.
we're talking about the short-term rentals, that's what you're
Right.
talking about, yeah. I guess, yeah, I was looking for some more information. I just don't quite understand when the city of Thunder Bay is calling upon the province to work with municipality to situation long-term housing stock that has been lost to the corporate ownership. That means private people have taken over some? Is that what you're trying to tell me here? And they're trying to avoid, I just didn't get the drift of what they're saying here.
They're saying that people are buying houses and then renting them out
Oh,
rather than people having them as a dwelling.
and is that bad?
In the city, yeah.
It's bad in cities. It's not bad in rural areas. This isn't a concern that we have right now.
Maybe needs to be noted that it's not just people buying houses, there's corporations
Corporations.
buying like hundreds of houses to
Okay.
rent them out, so.
Alrighty. Then we have community safety and insightful speech. On page 141. I'm not quite sure about, I don't know that we've had any terrorists speak at any of our meetings yet. Homelessness crisis.
Don't have that either.
Not a lot, but we do have people who are at the food banks for sure, but I think the federal and provincial governments are working on this. I don't think that you're ever going to have an ending to homelessness anywhere, but they are working at housing and so on. So the city just, or DSAB received a lot of funding for for housing for those that are in need. So it's moving. Rising municipal insurance costs. When I read this, I asked our clerk to include the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And elected municipal officials' criminal record. And this is in regards to not allowing people who have been found guilty and have a criminal record from sitting on a council. What are your thoughts? Right now it is legal, they can.
Is this something that's been identified as a significant issue locally, I wonder? I don't know.
I don't think local, not that I know of. I know some councillors locally. I don't know of any that have current records.
Yeah.
I would say myself, leave it up to the people sitting at the table are elected by the residents. If there's someone running for a position on this council that is questionable, I would think in my mind that the residents of this municipality would not vote in huge mass for that person. So I would think that that's, to me, just a thought. What do you think? Does it hurt to support it?
They're our neighbor.
It may be a possibility in their area that it was there, so it's just whatever you feel. Okay, we'll just leave it, or do you want to support it? I'll have the resolution, it'll come at our next meeting. Your thoughts? No? Okay. All righty. We have for information only the Lakewood Regional Conservation Authority budget, their dinner and auction, questions arising from the meeting of December the 12th. It's on page 161 by Mr. Potter. And I would like to indicate in his statement here that is absolutely correct. The Brickyard subdivision application is dead. And if it comes back again, it has to start at the beginning. And if I expressed myself differently or it sounded differently, I apologize. He's correct. Yeah.
Correctly what you said.
That's right. Yeah. And that, like I said, that's not what I meant. And if that's what I said, then he's absolutely correct. And then they spoke about opening an open road allowance and so on. That's something we're looking at in the future. Councillor Peacock?
Yes, I know that that resolution was deferred last time, with regard to the proposal for, what the planning department had come forward with for working on this year. And I would really appreciate some further information because I went down that Pine View Road. I don't understand why we would entertain the thought to open it and make 12 lots down by the Cam River. That just, there's aggregate, there's bur oak, there's all kinds of things that we have to be mindful of, and I just don't see a need for it at this time, so I'd appreciate some further information if that resolution comes back on the table and we want to have a further look at that proposal.
Well, we all get the information when we do have it come to us. It's just something they're going to look at and give us some further information. Okay. Now we have a resolution. Yes.
There's one other
Oh, I'm
One
sorry.
other aspect that Mr. Potter brought up was the Roslyn Road being done a minimal job, and I believe what that means is the Brickyard subdivision envisioned 14 driveway, something like that, on Roslyn Road. And since that application is not moving forward, the Roslyn Road will be rebuilt the way it looks now. And that's what I think the Director of Operations means by doing minimal, doing it as it is now. Is that pretty well accurate, Chris?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Yeah, there won't be all those entrances. It'll just be as it is now. Okay, and then we have a resolution moved and seconded in regards to the Roslyn Village Winter Carnival. Counselor Peacock?
Thank you. I think when this came forward last year, I asked the question, who owns anything that these people have purchased? They've got a snow blower and done a bunch of things. In the end, what happens to all of this?
It belongs to the municipality, if I'm not correct.
Do we have an agreement of some kind with them, or there anything written in that regard? If the snow blower breaks, whose responsibility is it?
Through the chair, the owner volunteer group over there has purchased this with the funds that they've raised, and they maintain it, and they're ready to go every fall with everything that they've listed. I have never once fixed the snow blower, nor have I ever put gas in it for that facility.
And that's an asset to our community that the residents of Roslyn are willing to do that. They work hard for it and they all volunteer. No one gets paid. It all goes towards improving the yard or whatever at the Roslyn Community Center. And they do supply insurance because they are using our building for their events or not. They would have third-party insurance. Yeah. Okay, I believe we pass a resolution every year that we don't charge them for the community hall. It's free.
Yeah,
Councillor
the
Liss?
only thing the liquor license they're applying to, whose name does it go into, in their individual as a group
There's-
or the municipality or one person?
One
Okay,
person,
then
not
that
us.
clears us. Okay, that's all.
We just have to write a letter saying that
Yeah.
we agree with the event.
Okay, as long as that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We had some information here of the Roma update in regards to trains and drains. And there's some things you can look up there. I'm sure they're interesting.
Yeah, the Director of Operations and I had a conversation about the trains and drains issue, and it is relevant to us plus other municipalities that have the railroads going through their municipalities. There's a lot of issues with drainage and with railways, and railways being the first in here are not very receptive to being assessed penalties, or I should say levies for drainage agreements, whatever, so that's what this is about, and it is relevant for us.
Okay. And then we have a DSAB newsletter. Update in the Emergency Management of Ontario. Okay, looking at the highlights for 23 and looking forward to 24. The DSAB Roma Conference, sorry, yes, Councillor Viss.
On the emergency management, and it says in there, a grant is available to NGOs, indigenous community, a small to medium-sized municipality to support their preparedness efforts. Is there anything that we could fit into that category at all, or? Because it's stated here, so if there's possibility, has Sean looked at it, or anybody looked at this?
I think this is the same grant that the fire chief was working on, and he did apply, and I think it's $50,000 of different items that are in our budget, draft
Yes.
budget.
And that's what this is.
I believe.
I believe so, yeah. He's
Thank
not
you.
here to answer, but I believe that it sounds like the same fund.
Okay, and then we have the Roma Conference briefings from the DSAB, so we know whom they are seeing or whom they are having briefs for the different ministries, and the Climate Action Incentive Payment Rural Supplement. I do suggest to the municipalities that we support this resolution. We, as Oliver Papunj and Nebing and all of these municipalities around here are considered Metropolitan Thunder Bay, and we do not qualify for a lot of the climate action change subsidies or whatever, or they're less than rural, and we are rural. So I would suggest that if this comes back to us next meeting, we support this resolution. And then we also have the Thunder Bay Municipal District Municipal League draft agenda for those that are attending February 29th to March the 1st. New business, Councillor Peacock.
Perhaps the Director of Operations could answer this one. Just wondering the status of the outdoor rinks at the present time. And lucky so far as maintenance on them.
Through the chair, Rosalind's ready to skate, Marule's ready to skate, Kekabeka is behind, and best of my ability, I've heard that Intel will be open on Saturday.
Oh, so they're moving forward. That's nice. Any other questions?
I just, a note that I think it's tomorrow with regard to the public meeting about the tower on Pole Line Road. Thursday's the meeting? Okay. I went by there today. I thought there would be some kind of signage or something, but there's nothing at all, so.
Required.
Not required?
It
Oh,
was
okay.
Mailed out to the people. that
The
would affect.
surrounding people? Yeah. Okay.
It was also posted.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Campoff,
Nothing.
Councillor Calvert,
Nothing new, just a couple phone calls regarding, as usual, the budget. The 40% people are looking at, but other than
they
that,
stopped listening at that
Yeah.
point, eh? Councillor Viss,
Just one little thing, if staff can inform all the committees what council will be representing them in those committees, because we do change now, this is January. And so when the emails come out, like that, they go to the proper counselor, so they're informed. That's all I have. Thank you.
that's right, so that their secretary knows to send whomever a note about the meetings. Perfect. That will happen, I'm sure. All righty, nothing further, nothing from administration? New business? No, okay. I see Wayne turned a bit pale when I asked him new business. We have a resolution to into closed session, the time being 6:08 PM. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will now have a 5-minute break before we continue with the closed session meeting.
All wrapped up. There's no fire meeting this month. No, because John's a Mason. That's right.
Okay, we have a. We are open. Okay, so we have a resolution moved and seconded to reconvene our council meeting at 7:57 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have the minutes of the closed meeting held on December the 12th. Its resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a resolution confirming our meeting. That resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a resolution adjourning the meeting, the time being 7:57 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much for our first meeting in January.